Alright, let's take a look at this how-to video. How to draw bodies. Wait, let me see who this channel was. I'm gonna have to drop this down again here. Sparkle Draws. How to draw bodies easy and step by step. Alright. Let's see what we got. Sparkle Draws.
Back to my channel, it's Sparkle here, and today's video is going to be a little bit more different because a lot of you guys wanted to see a video from me on how
72%.
I draw bodies. So today
72% want to know how the Sparkle draws bodies versus how she color or they color different skin tones. I kind of want to see about the skin tones. Looks like they're doing traditional. I don't really know what they do. We'll see what we got. All right.
I decided to share with you my process and how I draw bodies and give you some tips on anatomy. But keep in mind, this is not
Also, I just gotta say I really like the voice. It's nice and chill. Everything's cool. Mechanical pencil. That's my favorite. I love using mechanical pencil to draw. Keeps my hand light, not too hard.
a
Let's go.
tutorial, it's just my process, and there are a lot of different ways you
Kneadable
can do it,
eraser
and
for
no
sure
way
is
is
what
the
I
wrong
use.
way. And also, this video will be split into 5 different parts, as you can see on the screen, and I'll try to add timestamps in the description as well. Alright, with all that aside, let's begin. So the first thing I'm going to be showing you is how I draw female bodies. So I always like to begin by sketching out a rough circle. This kind of helps.
I don't know. You guys tell me if it's just me. Hold on, I forgot to turn my light on. Is that gonna matter? Nah, don't matter. Y'all tell me if y'all some artists out there. Do you guys have a I have ideas for like cool, like in my head at least cool, um, kind of like comics and stuff, which involves mostly male characters. But every time I go to draw, I end up drawing females. Um, Let me know if you guys have that same problem or not.
Me determine where I want the head to be. Then I draw 2 lines, one vertical and one horizontal, and these act as the guidelines and help me draw the face. From here, I kind of just sketch out the jaw and the chin just to get a rough idea of where I want the face to be. And for this basic pose, I'm going to be drawing it straight on. I also just went ahead and added the ears as well, and roughly just added the top of the head. But at this point, you can add in the eyes, nose, and mouth, but today I'm not going to be doing that. So the next thing I do is I kind of just draw 2 lines to determine where the neck would be, and then from here I draw a triangle kind of shape. So as you can see, I extend 2 lines coming out from the neck and try to form this triangular shape. This just helps determine where the shoulders would be, and the 2 points on either end are pretty much where I'm going to draw the shoulders afterwards. And once I do that, I kind of go ahead and connect.
I think that's where I mess up. I end up putting that's from when I do that part, I make that the collarbone where I know where this little thing is gonna be. And I end up drawing the shoulder just past that. Like I put the circle there, and then I'm like, that's the end of the circle, so the shoulder falls off of that. We'll see how this looks.
To the neck to make it look right, and then here I draw a box kind of shape. Now this is the shape I like to use to mark out where the chest would go, and the way I think of it is kind of like a square that bends inwards as it goes
It's like a cupcake.
further down. Then I draw a line. This is called the line of action, but in this case it's just going to be a straight line because this is going to be a basic pose. And the next thing I like to do from here is for female bodies, I like to add a bit of a curve from the chest to the hip. So what I like to do is I like to just draw 2 lines extending from the box, and then I draw 2 little arches underneath, and this will just mark the start of the legs. But when it comes to the
All
actual
right.
legs, I like to sketch out a different line for each leg just so I can check the length before I go ahead and start sketching.
I keep forgetting to do that.
Once I'm happy with the length, I draw 2 circles on either legs, one for the knee and one for the ankle. Sometimes I do circles for the ankles, but sometimes I just do triangles as well. In this case, I just did a triangle, and then all you have to do is go ahead and connect them together. Again, this is just my personal way of how I like to approach drawing bodies and anatomy, but of course there's no right or wrong way, so any way you choose to do it will be okay. Also,
Word. I like that. I like that they said that because I've watched so many how tos, and I take some information from them and use them sometimes, but other times it's just whatever feels right. Definitely, it's whatever. Remember, art's supposed to be fun.
my process is never consistent, it changes all the time, but a lot of you guys have been asking for an anatomy tutorial kind of video for a long time, so I just hope this video helps you out. Anyways, what I do is once I finish up with the legs, I have a look at it, and if I'm not happy with it, that's the time where I go ahead and erase it and fix up my mistakes. In this case, I wanted to move the leg on the right side a bit more to the left, and that definitely made it look a bit better in my opinion. The next thing I do is I
Oh, yeah, that's how I do right there. The little circles. Okay, all right. I was crazy.
go ahead and draw the shoulders. Remember the triangle shape from before? Like I said, that's where the shoulders are going to start. So I did the same thing as I did with the legs. I drew out a line, then I drew out circles to mark out where the elbows would go, and I drew triangles to kind of mark out the palms of the hands. From here, I kind of just go ahead and draw the fingers, but today I wasn't really worried about that. And anyways,
That's my favorite tool right there. I had it for a few years, a kneadable eraser, and I never really used it until I saw some quick video from I don't know who it was, and they were using it to lighten up everything. I was like, oh yeah, I guess I could start using that thing, and now it's my go-to. And I find the ones I really like, and they end up getting really covered in graphite to where they're dirty. And I'm kind of scared to try a new one. I have a couple of new ones. They don't feel the same. Like they changed the uh, chemistry of it or something.
after this, what I do is I go ahead and grab my kneaded eraser and I lighten the sketch and then go over it. Now, usually I don't do this until I figure out what outfit I want to put the character in and the character's hairstyle, the eyes, nose, mouth, and everything else. But today, since I was just working on the anatomy, I just went ahead and tried to define my sketch. And that's pretty much how it looks. Now, the next thing I'm going to be showing you guys is how I draw the basic male structure. First off, I want to say that I'm not completely perfect in drawing male structure, male anatomy. I'm still practicing it myself, but I thought I'd share my current process with you guys. So as
See, what is it with dude? It's because dudes are too. They're not as soft and elegant. I don't know. It's something because I can't even get to the point of trying to draw a dude. Every time I've drawn one, it's so bad I wouldn't even share it with a kindergartner. It looks so bad.
you can see, so far it's pretty much the same. I started with a circle, drew out the guidelines, the chin, the jaws, the ears, the neck, the triangular shape, then the box. But
It's a
now
bigger
what I'm doing
cupcake.
is I'm drawing a more triangular shape for the hip instead, and I'm kind of just connecting the box to that triangular shape. Other than that, the rest
Right.
of the process is pretty much exactly the same. For example, as you can see, I drew out two lines to mark out the length of the legs, and I drew circles to mark out the knees.
These figures remind me of like dolls. Dolls is that how you see it? Sometimes I don't say words too good. Almost like a Monster High type doll. My daughters used to have that when they were growing up.
Triangles to mark at the feet, then I joined them together, and pretty much the exact same with the arms as well, with the lines, the circles, and connecting them all together. Then I drew triangles for the palms as well, and that's pretty much how I do it. And of course, like the other one, I went ahead and grabbed my kneaded eraser to redefine the sketch, but you can always skip this step if your initial sketch is light enough, or you can just leave it as it is. But in my case, I just like going with a nice dark sketch and then defining it afterwards, so that's why I did that. Also, I wanted to make this page a little bit more colorful, so I went ahead and grabbed my highlighters and added some color. Alright, so time for the next part. So now I'm going to be showing you guys how I like to go about drawing poses that are a bit more dynamic or
This is another thing I gotta learn how to do. I gotta learn how to draw on the other side. I only draw on one side of the page, and I feel like it's blasphemous to draw on the other side. I don't know. What do you guys think?
complex and the poses.
Especially in a sketchbook. I mean, it's not like a fine. If you're doing it just to learn, you should be able to do it. I can't. I always have some kind of, oh, it's uncomfortable. I'm hitting the spine with my hand. There's always something.
We just drew before. So I do still start out by drawing a circle, but for the guidelines, I have to decide which way I want the face to be facing. So in this case, I wanted the face to be tilted a little bit to one side, but still looking towards, well, you guys. So I kind of drew the guidelines like that. Then I drew the neck coming out, and then I drew the triangular shape. Also, when you're trying
I'm
out
giving
new
it some
dynamic
nice
poses, I would definitely recommend try
action.
and use a reference. It will definitely help you out. And yeah, so now what I'm doing is I used my reference, and according to my reference, I drew the line of action. In this case, I could tell the body was bending back a bit, so I drew the line of action and then drew my box coming in that way. And then in this case, the girl's feet were kind of against the wall. So I was being really loose and I was just trying to draw rough lines to indicate where the feet would go, how the hip would bend and everything. I did try to follow the shapes from the basic structure that I showed you before, but I wasn't too worried about it because at this point, what you really want to do is just focus on how everything looks in general. And then you can go ahead and erase everything and then try to define your sketch a bit more. This is usually how my first sketch would look, but with this dynamic pose, even I was having some problems. I could have just not showed you guys, but the thing is, artists, we have our ups and downs, and I want to show you my down today. And that is totally okay because
That is awesome. I like that. I've noticed that a lot of artists, especially when I was learning and I was doing these how-to videos, it was more or less, for the most part, I would say, videos I was coming across was just artists showing off. It wasn't really showing a how to. And when I tried to do my channel, I'm like, I'm gonna show the good and bad, maybe not the real bad, but show my how I'm learning, how I and I know some people. There's a video from years ago. Someone commented to try and do a "Where are you now" thing, and I do need to get to that. I do. But yeah, it's kind of like, why can't we show good and bad? Just hey, we all working through things.
You can always fix it up. So like I said, I went in with a loose sketch, then I went ahead and erased everything and defined my sketch. I mean, I could have just given up, but my best tip would be just don't give up, just go with the flow and try to simplify the shapes as much as you can before you go ahead and define everything. And now the next thing I'm going to be showing you guys is how I draw a seated pose. Now when I draw a dynamic pose or a seated pose, I pretty much go about both of them in a similar way. What I mean is that I go ahead and start with the face and I draw the guidelines, the circle, the neck, and then from this point I go ahead and follow the basic structure. But for both of them, what I like to do is I like to start off with a really loose, almost scribbly kind of sketch. And
Yeah.
this is pretty much just so I can see where the shapes would be, where the body parts would be, and just so I can see if everything looks right, if anything's too long or anything. And once I'm done with that, then I go ahead and I lighten my sketch, or if I start off with a light sketch, I pretty much just go in with my pencil and define everything again. And this way it's just really good because if you start
Very
off
good.
with a loose sketch and you're not really stressed about how it's going to turn out, it will help your pose look a little less stiff and more flowy, which is what you want to go for. And then if you go ahead and define everything, you'll be able to get that right shape. So that's pretty much how I go about it. I feel like one of the reasons why I've been putting this video off so much for so many months is because I'm just not really good explaining how my process works. But if I were to simplify it in 2 simple steps, I would say firstly, start off with a loose scribbly sketch and don't even worry about how it looks.
Hey,
Just
what's
make sure you
that?
get at the basic shape, the basic idea, and just make sure everything looks good in terms of proportions.
Yeah, I
And
like that.
then go ahead and lighten your sketch and go in and define the shape. And that's pretty much how I do it. And some more tips is to use a reference, use a line of action, and try not to overcomplicate it, because if you do, your pose will most likely end up looking pretty stiff. And yeah, try as best as you can to break everything down into simple shapes. Also, at this point, I'm just trying to make the page a little bit more aesthetic and pretty and full, and I think it looks better after this. Also, sorry about the drastic change in lighting. The sun went down a lot quicker than I thought it would that day, but let's just try and ignore it. Alright, and I hope those tips helped you out. So the next thing we're going to be looking at is how I draw different body types. So the first thing I'm going to be focusing on.
I gotta say, with all that was just said, I'll kind of. I am glad they made this video. This is actually a really nice video. I like it. The explanation was well. I know personally, um, I've never really done. I think I've done them on live streams before, but never as a video because I feel the same. I'm like, well, I'll just draw how I draw. It's not like a. I don't think I'm the end all be all for sure. But that's not what people are asking for, and that's part of your own brain screwing up. They're just saying, how do you do it? So maybe they can gather some information from it. And I for sure rather kind of what they're saying, the light, draw light so that you can any kind of mistake or error, erasing it is not going to cause such trauma to the page. So I go light. I do the lot of light wispy type lines. Sometimes it's scribbly. Depends on how I'm feeling, how quick I want to try and get that down. And yeah, same way. Once you've got it ironed out, even if it's a spot of the drawing that you got ironed out to where you're happy with it, then you darken it up a little bit more and go from there. Um, yeah, I really liked it.
Is a wider body type. But before that, I do want to acknowledge that all body types are amazing and beautiful, and I think diversity and representation through art is really important. So, of course, let's support all body types because everyone is beautiful no matter what. So, what I like to do is I like to follow
Yeah, so for all you that are on my other pages that have seen me draw my ladies, stop talking about I only draw curvy ones, huh? How about that?
pretty much the same process, but when it comes to the hip, I like to make the hip just slightly wider. And when it comes to legs as well, I like to make the legs slightly
I gotta say, the way that they're doing the head and the ears, this just looks adorable already. It's already adorable.
wider. And
I
pretty
haven't I haven't seen their. I wonder if they're gonna do a final. I probably should go to their page and see what their actual final art looks like because so far this is my first video of theirs, and it's already adorable.
Much what I do is when it comes to body parts that are a bit more wider or narrower, I just either elongate some of the proportions or I bring them more inwards and make them a bit more narrower. That's pretty much the main difference, but other than that, the main structure is pretty much the same. And again, just focus on the different shapes and don't try to overcomplicate it. And like I was saying before, just bring it more outwards, some of the body parts, or bring them more inwards depending on how you want your character to look. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to be doing is drawing a character that is a bit more shorter. And now when it comes to characters that are shorter or taller, I pretty much do the same thing with the head and the box, but then I like to make the proportions a little less longer or shrink them slightly. And again, all of these body types are beautiful and amazing, and this is pretty much how I do it. I just make the legs slightly smaller, or sometimes I like to bring the hips slightly higher, and sometimes even the arms as well. Or if it's longer, then I like to make the legs longer, the hips longer.
Yeah, I always struggle with the feet. She's literally, or they are just literally doing like kind of a elongated triangle. I really like that. I need to try and start using that. It's uh, I think feet and hands and the other eye are usually what a lot of artists struggle with, which I've done. I figured out the other eye usually, and I've kind of somewhat figured out the hands. I think we can do a videos on those. Maybe not because there's always hands are so dynamic. You can have them doing all kinds of things. But it's when we're drawing. I think we have a almost like a block in our brain where we think we need to see the hand. No one's just walking around like this all the time, you know. And that's how uh, when I start looking back, whenever I'd have people ask me in some chat rooms about how to do it, how I would draw the hands, or asking my opinion about their artwork, and it would always be that same thing. And I'm like, I remember doing that too, and I couldn't understand why. And I think it's when I looked from the outside to theirs, I'm like, oh, that's we just think, okay, we gotta make sure five fingers, you know, are shown. Even though if you're looking at a reference, half the time you can't even see the difference between one finger or another. It's very subtle. And most times you don't see every five fingers. I would venture to say if you were to just look around in your during your life and walking around, how often you actually see every finger on someone's hand that's out there, unless they're stopped and you're staring at it. But I'm saying that an action pose or walking towards you or pictures, it's very rare to see every single finger. And same with the feet. You don't see every single toe, and the shoes are coming towards you, but yet they're so I like this angle because it still gives a look like it's coming towards you with these little elongated, I would say, triangles.
The box slightly longer as well. And then in the end, you should be able to get whatever you want. And like I did before, I went ahead and redefined the sketch here as well. Oh, and by
That
the
was
way, I
cool
couldn't
to
leave
edit.
this
I
page
like that. It's
blank,
cute.
could I? So I won this art contest recently and I got these really cool chalk markers. And I know you're meant to use chalk markers on smooth surfaces, but I couldn't resist from using them in my book. And they pretty much work like Posca markers, super smooth, super amazing. And
Should say
they turned out
chalk.
so cool. They had this kind of matte finish, and here is how the final thing turned out. And anyways, here is pretty much how I draw a basic female structure, basic male structure, how I draw dynamic poses or more complex poses, seated poses, and how I draw different body types.
Dude, that was
Anyways, I hope this video
very,
helped you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a fabulous day. Stay awesome as always, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
very interesting video from was Sparkle Draws. Very interesting video. Damn, I really liked that. That was very informative and very well informative. And I really like that. That was cool. And I like how they explained their apprehension to making the video and stuff too. Hopefully you guys like that. I'd say let's give Sparkle Draws a hand. A like. I'm gonna put the link to the video to the original in the description if you guys want to go give a like, give a sub. I know I don't have many subs here, but we're doing our thing. Let's look at these other people, see what they're doing. That's good for all of the newbies that are trying. because I've been there and I've seen all the BS out there. So thank you guys for watching the video and keep on arting.